and they couldn't solve it for entire season. That was low. And then COVID hit, and then we really couldn't do much. So that was a low. But now, we are improving again. So no, it's good.
Improving again now. Let's just talk about this weekend in Canada. What are your hopes? What are your expectations for this one?
Honestly, expectations always very difficult. Every single circuit we go to, especially with the C6 tire, which is very, very sensitive. I find it a bit difficult to predict exactly where we're gonna be. And then for me, just here Montreal, we focused on having a clean weekend, build up to it, and then trying to get best out of the car and drivers, and then hopefully we can fight for the points. But long way to go. Yeah, we need to improve the car quite a bit.
Okay, Ayao, good luck with that. Thank you very much. Fred, if we come to you now, can we just start with Charles's car, FP1? How much damage is there? Are there any ramifications for FP2?
But when I left the garage, we think that we damaged the chassis, and by the way, we won't be able to do FP2 by regulation. We need to do some checks, but I think it's over for today for Charles.
Now, can we talk about the Italian media now? Lewis Hamilton was in here yesterday, and he dismissed recent criticism of you in the Italian media. What's your take on it?
First, I have to stay calm because I will have to finish to the steward. It's some Italian media, it's not all the Italian media. It's not about myself, I think, because this I can manage. It's more about the people of the team. To throw their name like this, I think it's just disrespectful for them, for the family. And we had the case last year with the chief of Aero already. We had some other name this season. I don't know the target. I don't understand the target. Perhaps it's to give shit to the team, but in this case, I don't see the point. Perhaps it's for them the only way to exist. This is probably more the reason, but it's really hurting the team. It's at one stage, it's a lack of focus, and when you are fighting for the championship, every single detail makes the difference. And from the beginning of the weekend, we are just speaking about this. And if it's their target to put the team in this situation, they reach their goal. But I think it's really, it's not like this that we'll be able to win a championship, and at least not with this kind of journalist around us.
Fred, is criticism...
I won't go to the stewards for this so far.
Does it go with the territory of being team principal of Ferrari that you have to deal with this kind of thing?
No, but to be the team principal that I knew when I joined, when I took the position, that you are exposed, and this I think it's quite easy to manage. It's more for the people of the team, they are working very hard, and to decide one day that this one will be replaced, this one will be replaced, this one is useless. Honestly, it's very, very harsh because they have these journalists, and I'm not putting everybody in the same basket, but they have to consider that these people, they have family, they have wife, they have kids, and this is completely unrespectful. That now I don't want to speak anymore about this stupido. Okay.
Let's talk about performance. This was a tough race for Ferrari last year. Do you come into it feeling more confident?
Well, at least we won't do worse because last year it was the double DNF. But no, the pace this morning was okay for Charles before the crash, and with Lewis it was okay also. We made a step. I think if you compare to the first races, that now we came back P2. That we had the last 3 or 4 weekends we had a strong pace. It was already the case at the beginning, but more on the race pace than the quali pace. And now I think we are able to put a little bit more everything together and to do a good weekend. But it's still a long way to compare to McLaren because they are still one step ahead, and we have to keep McLaren as a target and not to have a look behind us. But we're on the right way.
Okay, Fred, thank you for that. And James, let's come to you now. Can we just start talking about something off track? Williams FW14B. You drove it recently. Just tell us what that was like and what the overriding emotion was for you when you were behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's exceptional. I mean, genuinely, after we stopped, they left me in the car, said, "You need a minute," and I stayed in there for 10 minutes, just enjoying the moment. It was getting it basically ready, making sure we're okay before we take it to Goodwood, and it's an opportunity of a lifetime. I can't really describe it any other way. It's something I saw on TV 30 years ago that never I would have dreamt to be even close to it, yet alone have the ability to drive it. It's a very light car. It's exactly Nigel's car as he won the championship in Budapest in '92, in Hungary in '92, and it's an exceptional moment for me to just have the ability to be a part of it.
Not too tall?
No, thank you. I thought you were going to say too wide. But I did genuinely, again, I went on a diet a little bit last year to get myself a little bit thinner to make sure I could get inside it. The biggest problem is my My feet are a little bit big. I think Nigel's feet are smaller than mine, so it's quite difficult to get everything fitting into the nose box.
All right. And what about the here and now? Spain looked a little tricky for the team. On the evidence of FP1, you're going to go better here. How do you explain that? Is it the return of short radius corners?
Yeah, so I'm only laughing because Fred said there's, well, basically I said, so there's no corners here, that's why we're quick. Spain's quite a unique circuit. If you turn 3 and turn 9 now are flat out corners that you're in them for a long period of time compared to other corners on the circuit, and that isn't the case for most other tracks now. Unbelievably, that's actually more an outlier than anything else. And without question, we still have a problem baked into our car that if we're loaded for a long period of time at high speed, we struggle. And Barcelona proved that. The only point I would make is we have improved, though. We were in a situation of at least, we had both front wings missing after lap 1, but we were in a situation where the car could have scored a point there, which is different to how we've been many other years. But without question, Montreal, conversely, is the complete polar opposite for us. It's very much a circuit that suits the characteristic of our cars, the short corners, and I don't think it'd be quite as rosy as we saw this morning. McLaren went up there, and Charles wasn't there either, and I'm sure he will be. But the point is, we should be competitive enough to still be fighting for points this weekend.
Okay, James, thank you for that. Let's now open this to the floor. Questions, please. Yeah, first one. Going to Johnny. Yeah.
John over the race. To Fred, I don't think anyone at Ferrari would be satisfied with the season you've had so far, but what's been the kind of dialogue with John Alcan so far this year, and what's the kind of battle plan agreed going forwards to recover the rest of this season and into 26?
The initial goal was to fight for the championship, but I think it's true for us, it's true for McLaren, for Red Bull, for Mercedes. We are all on this mood to fight for the championship at the beginning of the season. I think if you compare with expectation, probably that McLaren is one step ahead compared to everybody. And we didn't do a good job on our side, just speaking about us, Ferrari. We didn't do a good job the first couple of races that we had the disqualification in China. We were 60 points behind Red Bull and Mercedes at this stage of the season. And overall, I think we had a decent recovery, at least compared to McLaren, to Red Bull, Mercedes. Compared to McLaren, they are still one step ahead. It means that we have to continue to try to do a better job each day and to improve. That we have I had the feeling that on some occasion this year we missed opportunities and we didn't do the same level of job that what we did last year, let's say. And this clearly we need to improve. But it's true that if you want to win for the championship, and I think it's a good lesson of 2024, is that you can't let points on your way. That last year that we had the double DNF in Canada, we had a couple of events when we had the DNF and issues. And it's where we have to improve clearly, but I think it's difficult to say because that we are still behind McLaren. The target is to be P1, but I think we are improving from the beginning of the season to today.
Thank you, Fred. More questions, please. Yeah, Luke.
Luke Smith from The Athletic. Fred, just picking up on that, is there a full understanding in terms of where Ferrari has left points on the table so far this season and gone wrong in some places? Because other areas like pit stops, for example, that was always traditionally a weak point for the team, and now you've become like the pace setter. So how do you kind of balance that in terms of analysing where you've gone wrong and where you've gone right?
Sorry, yeah.
So do you have a full understanding of where things have gone wrong at points in the early part of this season? And then conversely, pit stops been a very good point, for example. So how do you then pick out the bright spots?
Yeah, but it's not a race of pit stop. That at the end of the day, it's good to have a good pit stop because it's part of the. It's not part of the success, but it could be part of the issues that. Honestly, if you compare with one at the beginning 23, 24, that we did good step forward on operation, that strategy, pit stop, that even reliability, that it's still that we are still behind McLaren, that you know that at the end it's not the target is not to do a good job, and the target is to do a better job than the others. That the same for 2026 when you are asking us that where are you, but we are improving, but the target is to improve faster than the others. Overall, I think it's a long process, and it's why I don't want to come back on the first part of the discussion, but it's where each time that you have a kind of distraction or issue internally, that you are losing a little bit the focus, the pace of the season. And this is our job to recover because that each time that you are... I have the feeling that sometimes the team in UK, they are a bit more on their own and a bit more focused on what they are doing. That the best example for me is McLaren. They had 22-23, I think, or very harsh season. They were at the back, but they were focused. They worked on their own and they improve step by step, and it's I think what every single team wants to do. That I have a huge respect for the 10 teams on the grid. That I know all of them. They are competitors, they are racers, and when we are not doing well, we are aware. Okay, it means that we are trying to put everything together. We are pushing, and the most important is to do it, to be able to do your own job. And it's sometimes where we are struggling a little bit.
Thanks, Fred. Okay, next, please.
Mark Manbrines from Autosport. Another one for Fred, please. You've obviously got in Lewis a 7-time world champion and Charles, someone who's been ingrained in the team for years now. Does that give you the confidence that their performance and their mentality won't be affected by talk of your future or things around the team?
It's a good example, and that to speak about Charles, that I think Charlie has a long-term contract with us. Each single interview from the beginning of the season is telling that he wants to stay with Ferrari, he wants to win with Ferrari, his future is with Ferrari. But every single Monday we have article telling that Charles will go next year, Charles will... At one stage, I don't know what we have to do. I'm sorry, and I can't repeat every single weekend the same things. That it is like it is. Now with Lewis and Charles, that I think we have a good relationship all together. We have a clear target. We know that we have to work. We know that we have to push. But the mood into the team is very good, and the basic if you want to recover and to win. But everything is there. Everything is on the table to do a good job, and all together that we are working well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to the front now, Adam.
Adam Cooper, everyone. Sorry, Fred again. Sunday night in Barcelona, you told us that both drivers had issues and you wouldn't elaborate. Yesterday, Lewis said he'd been told not to talk about it. Charles wouldn't talk. All the mystery. Can you not give us...
Because when I'm telling you in the press conference that I won't disclose, don't come back 10 minutes later to try to understand, and the Friday after to try to understand, I won't disclose what's happened. It is like it is, and full stop. Okay?
Isn't it better just...
No, I don't want to...
Given the situation you guys are in, isn't it better just to give fans and the media at least some idea of what the issues are? You don't have to go into detail.
Put the front wheel, the rear.
Okay, next, please. Back to Luke. Yep.
Luke Smith from the Athletic for Fred and for James this time. Got a media screening of the F1 movie last night and a couple of little cameos in there for you. Fred, you actually had a cameo with Tom in the press conference. How was it filming those scenes and sort of being part of the Hollywood world?
I'm looking for a new job.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on sort of being part of it? What was that process like?
I only had to say 2 words, that it was not a huge experience, but it went pretty well.
And Luke, do you want James's thoughts on the movie as well? Okay.
Was the thing that impressed me was Fred's 2 words, first of all, but also
in Italian it was niente.
one. But it's probably more that integrated with us as though they were the 11th team here. It was you have to remember that for a lot of the scenes they only had 1 shot, 1 take, and that was it. We're not going to go back to the start of the race and do it again. They just had to pick up their imagery, and that's what impressed me with it. If you get involved in film, you realise they do about 40 takes. Even when we do our own work, we do 40 takes, and they didn't. They got it done first time and did it right. It's quite impressive.
Okay, thank you. We're next. Yep.
Rodrigo França, Car Magazine Brazil. Following up on that question, the question for the 3 of you, do you think that the F1 The Movie can bring more fans, as Drive to Survive has also reached a new audience for Formula 1?
Oh, let's start with you, please.
Yeah, I think so, because I think for lots of people who just having a passing interest for the motorsport, I think that film is really immersive. I think on board the footage, we look at it all the time, but for the people who don't watch it all the time, I think it's really quite immersive. And then racing scene with the real footage and CG, etc. It's brilliant, really merged together. So yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty exciting for fans who doesn't see this all the time.
Yeah, I think it's you can do the parallel with Netflix, that we will attract a new fan base with the movie, and perhaps that then in the future they will watch the races just because they watched the movie before, and it's also the target of this story.
Yeah, same thing. I'm confident it will attract a new fan base to the sport, because it is authentic to Formula One, but it's a Hollywood take on it. But it will have a different audience, especially I think in the US, and that's exactly the whole purpose behind it, is to bring eyeballs to our sport that I love.
Right, thank you all. Any more? Yep.
Only be for Ayao, though.
It's Chris Medlin from Racer, and it's actually for James and Ayao, but it's sort of on the topic of the day with what Fred was saying about Ferrari. But you've both been parts of teams in different roles too before you became team principals. When there's speculation and media reporting that maybe is negative about that team, how much does it impact you and the work you're doing internally and the atmosphere within a team in the way that Fred was saying it will be for Ferrari too?
I think the thing I'd put here, first of all, I've known Fred for probably 20 years or so. Fred is an incredibly good leader. And what you see him doing here in front of you today is he's shouldering all of this because that's what we do and that's our job to do it. And his point is actually valid. For me personally, it's never caused me grief or upset. But what I've seen it do is destroy individuals as a result of one line that's written by an individual that may or may not know any details behind it. So answering your question, it shows you what the power of words are in a positive and a negative sense. But what I would say is I have all the respect in the world for Fred and what he is doing in Ferrari because they are competitive and they are moving forward. Simple as that.
I guess it's part of F1. These rumors, people like to talk those things when they haven't got anything else to write about. So yeah, it does affect team to a certain extent. But I think when the true leader is there, I've been with the two different teams previously. Now we had the really good leaders. Communication internally is clear. Then we have a trust in them. So yeah, it's outside people can say whatever they want. I think the true teams, they will be fine.
Okay, thanks both. More?
Valente from The Score. Another question for Fred. Yesterday, Lewis and Charles were both very outspoken about their support for you. I just want to know, can you talk about how much or what that means to you to have that kind of public backing from both your drivers?
Their reaction, I can understand their reaction because that we are working on the day per day. We are working to reach a target and we are working all together. And it's not about me again. I think I knew before. I knew perfectly that I'm exposed, and it's issue is not the team principal that because we are fully aware. I think the issue in this kind of situation is more the people of the team. This is affecting much more than on position. You know what I mean? That on stage that we have to consider that the people who are in every single team of the grid, they are working all very hard. They are putting all of their energy. Sometimes they're doing some sacrifice for the family and so. And to put names like this on paper, I think it's very, very harsh. That you have to understand that when you journalist is saying that Ferrari will recruit this name for this position, there is someone who is in this position. The Sunday evening, the guy say, okay, that tomorrow morning I won't have a job anymore because if what is in the newspaper is true, that I will have someone in my position. And it's the same for all the group working for the guy. And we are in this situation on a daily basis now in Italy, and too much is too much. That honestly, that if they want to be successful at one stage, that we have also to be able to work a clean environment, and we are not in this situation so far.
Is there anything you can do as the team principal to protect the team?
Yeah, I'm going on Monday morning to see the guys and to say, guys, it's not true. But the fireman at the end of the day, and it's just a matter of respect. We are fully open that with them, that it means that if someone has to ask a question, recruitment or whatever, that either I will say, no, I can't speak, or yes. In this case, I would have said no way. Because that the person that we are speaking about of last year had to go to Google the name of the guy to see the face of the guy. You know, we are at this point now that they are able to spread a rumor about someone that I never met in my life. And consider that we are speaking about people. We are not speaking about things. I think everybody needs to have a bit of respect.
Thank you. Back to the floor. Who's next?
Bélanger Champagne with the Canadian Press. Might be a bit of a reach, but the F1 Canadian Grand Prix will be moved to late May next year. I'm just curious if you expect any difference, any impact. Be just a few degrees colder, but besides that, what do you can it change anything for the teams if with this change in calendar?
Who'd like to give us some thoughts on that? Oh, go on.
I think even when it's the same time of the year, here the weather's quite unstable. You can have dry race, wet race, really changeable conditions. So I'm sure team will adapt fine. Different time of the year. I don't think it's going to be drastically different, but I think it's very good for F1 to look at how they can optimize the travel logistics.
Your thoughts?
I've had the pleasure of coming here in winter. I definitely don't want to race here in winter. It's freezing cold. But I think in May is perfectly fine where they've done it. And it makes sense from the calendar perspective just to make sure we're not touring around the world too much. I think it'll be absolutely fine. I don't think it would dramatically, your question was, change the result. Not really. I think all of us are pretty good now adapting a warm and cold.
I just hope that it won't make a huge change in terms of weather condition. I don't think so. The calendar, it's a good move. It means that it makes absolutely sense to do it.
Okay, thank you. Next one, yes.
Kramer from Radio Canada. Question for all three of you. We're approaching the halfway point of the season, I believe. Wondering how the balancing act between focusing on performance this year as opposed to 26 cars. I don't know how. Curious to know how much it involves your day-to-day job, the three of you as team principals.
Okay, James, let's start with you.
I find it's probably different team on team. For us, I've been very vocal about this. We pulled the car out the tunnel on the 2nd of January on purpose. We're here to sure we have an opportunity. Next year is basically a clean sheet of paper. You can redraw everything. There's no carryover. And for us as Williams, that's a really good opportunity to make sure we're just digging out some of the other elements that we need to put foundations in for and get it right. But that's probably an exception, not the rule. But for us, it's a good reset opportunity.
But I think it's the single team at the same topic on the table now that to decide when we have to switch completely to the next year project. For sure that every single day in the wind tunnel in the next year project, you are making perhaps 10 times more improvement than on the current car. It's always a difficult choice, but life, and we knew before also, and at the beginning of the season and the first press conference, we are speaking about this, to the circumstances and the situation on the championship, that we will make different choices.
Obviously, especially for small teams like us, it's a very significant challenge, but it's same for everyone. It's the name of the game. So we are just getting on with it. But one thing which is difficult is still the technical regulation is not completely stable. So you work on certain things, then regulation changes, then you have to start again. So yeah, but again, it's same for everyone, but it's challenging.
Thanks all. Any more just before we go? Last one. There is time for one more if you have it. We're going to let you go. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Best of luck for the rest of the weekend.